Hey guys, it's GS Luke bringing you a quick preview for this week's Barracuda Championship, the alternate field event opposite this week's WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational, where pretty much everybody outside the top 50 in the world will be playing this week. In this quick preview, I'll be covering the field, a course breakdown, as well as my top 6 picks for my custom model this week. We'll be using the data-based approach as always. I prefer to use facts rather than narrative and bias when I take on daily fantasy sports, and that's going to be very consistent in this video as well. So let's get started with the video. It'll be a quick one for you guys. Let's hop into it. So it'll be a full field event. We have 156 golfers teeing it up this week, and you're going to have the normal cut line this week as well. Be the top 65s and ties for the cut. And obviously the field's not going to be as strong as we're used to seeing. All the best players in the world are going to be down in Memphis for the WGC, but we're going to have a lot of the PGA Tour regulars at this event. These are the kind of weeks where if you put in a lot of preparation, if you put in the due diligence in terms of your research, you can really make a profit. A lot of people are going to be focusing on that WGC, putting a lot of their money there as well. So it does leave an opportunity for those that want to focus on it. We're going to have a modified Stableford scoring this week. It's going to be quite different than what you're used to seeing. It's more on a point basis rather than a 2-par basis. You get 2 points for a birdie, 0 points for a par, so you don't really get anything for that. You only lose 1 point for a bogey. So because you get 2 points for a birdie, only lose 1 for a bogey, there is a huge emphasis on scoring birdies, going out there being very aggressive. You also get 5 points for an eagle, so that's something to keep in mind as well. There's going to be plenty this week. Last year, Richie Werenski actually made an eagle on the second to last hole on 17 and actually propelled him into the victory. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen at an event like this. Even though we have Stableford scoring, all the scoring on Draftkings is going to be the exact same. You're going to get normal credit for your birdies, eagles, pars, etc. The only difference is going to be that your finishing position is obviously determined by the Stableford scoring position. So make sure you keep that in mind. It's going to be very similar to a normal week though. In terms of the course that we're playing this week, we're playing at Tahoe Mountain Club. That is in Sierra Nevada over there in California. And we're specifically playing on the old Greenwood Golf Course. It's actually not even the hardest golf course on this property. They have a championship course there. It's a par 72. It's almost 8,000 yards. That plays a lot harder. We're playing on one of the resort courses. So obviously we're playing Stableford scoring. They want to bring out a lot of birdies, and that's how they're doing so this year. I would say par 71. It's typically a par 72 for the members, but that's not going to really give them any problems at all. It is almost 7,700 yards at 7,690, and like I said before, it's in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's at 6,000 feet of elevation. It's way up there. So your effective yardages with every single club are going to be 10 to 15% less. So even though it's almost 7,700 yards, it's really going to be playing closer to 7,000 yards, which for a par 71 is a piece of cake. We're going to have bent POA greens this week on the greens and fairways. It's a little bit atypical than what we're used to seeing. So something that I'll be, including in my modeling and whatnot in these player picks. And like I mentioned before, it's not a very difficult golf course. This is a resort golf course, not meant to be tricky by any means. Only 2 out of the 18 holes on property play over par in the few times that we've seen this golf course in professional play. None of that on the PGA Tour. And the other 16 holes are extremely easy. They play well under par, 30 to 40% birdie rates, that kind of range. It's a resort style course that is made for PGA Tours to take apart. This format is going to demand birdies though. Like I said, the winning score last year was 39 points. So obviously there's a million different ways to get to 39 points with the 2 points for the birdie, 5 for an eagle, -1 for a bogey. But that just shows you, obviously you have to go very low. You have to play very aggressive, and in fantasy, obviously that pays dividends as well. The more birdies you make, the higher fantasy score you have. So we're going to have just as much emphasis on finishing position this week in terms of birdie percentage as we do with fantasy scoring. So it's a very unique week for us in terms of our modeling. And birdie or better percentage is going to be by far the most important stat this week at the Barracuda Championship. I'm also going to be weighing shots gained approach and putting a lot as well. To put yourself in birdie or better spots, you're going to have to be really good with your irons. You're going to have to be precise as well. Get a lot of those kick-ins and whatnot. You're also going to be looking for people that can make a lot of putts. The bent POA surface is a little bit tricky. It's something that we don't really see a lot on tour. But there's definitely people that specialize on that surface. So I'm looking for people that have familiarity on that bent POA grass surface. Again, people that are precise with their irons and make a lot of birdies. Now that we know how the course is going to play, let's hop into the top 6 picks for this week's Barracuda Championship. Before we hop into these player picks, I just wanted to mention that there's quite a bit of water on the course as well. It's in play on over half the holes, a lot of times off the tee as well. So as a result, you're looking for people that have pretty good driving accuracy as well. If you go out there, you're spraying the golf ball, you're bound to find water from time to time. Even though the bogeys, aren't as emphasized this week, you're not going to be penalized quite as much. You don't want to make a habit of doing that. So I just wanted to mention that before we hop into these picks. For the spend up option this week, we have Emiliano Grillo priced at $10,200. And if I was going to bet anyone in this field at the Barracuda, I would 100% bet Grillo at 18-1 odds. He's by far the best ball striker in the entire field. He gains a whopping 1.11 strokes on approach per round over his last 26 rounds. That is elite level stuff. Over that same stretch, he's actually been better than Colin Morikawa, who went out and won the Open Championship. Obviously competed at the Olympics last week as well. On top of striping his irons, he's been a much better putter recently. He's typically been one of the worst on tour, but he's actually been gaining 0.04 strokes putting per round of late. At an event where birdies are emphasized, as they are with Draftkings scoring as well, I'm looking for guys that have that birdie upside, that have that precision with their irons, and he fits the bill this week. Our second man on the board this week is Harold Varner III, coming in at an even $9,000. He's been absolute rock solid in all facets of his game of late, gaining in all 4 major statistical categories over his last 30 measured rounds. On top of gaining all over the board, he's been distancing himself in the field in terms of his approach play, gaining a solid 0.45 strokes gained approach per round. And I expect his precision, just like with Emiliano Grillo, to pay dividends this week at an event where birdie percentage is just emphasized a lot more than other events. Harold Varner III also has a pedigree well above a lot of his peers. He's somebody who should be priced in that $10,000 range. I'd argue that he has a much better career trajectory than somebody like even Emiliano Grillo. So he's a rock solid value play in terms of a DFS and in terms of a scoring potential as well. He gives you everything that you're looking for. For my bread and butter play, we have Joel Damon, an $8,400 golfer who makes a habit out of playing alternate field events and makes a habit out of winning these damn events as well. He comes in gaining 0.69 shots gained approach per round over his last 30 rounds, which is good for top 5 in this week's field. He's also been a prolific birdie maker as well. He ranks top 10 in the field in birdie or better percentage, and overall he has the pedigree, like I said, similar to the guys priced in that $9,000, $10,000 range, just like our guy, our second man in. And he also presents inherent value as well. So he grades out as a guy who's going to give himself plenty of chances. I'm going to have him in a bunch of lineups because of that. In the value tier, we have Kyle Stanley. He comes in at $7,800 on DraftKings, and he puts on an absolute clinic with his ball striking every single time he tees the ball up. Over his last 32 rounds specifically, though, he's gaining 0.48 shots gained off the tee and also 0.77 strokes per round on approach. Both of those numbers are top 5 in the field, very much elite numbers for any field in golf, let alone this alternate event. But he's been very on brand of late. He's somebody who, obviously does well with his irons, but somebody who's a horrible putter as well. He's been losing 0.67 strokes putting over that same stretch, which has derailed quite a few of his events. The saving grace for him is that at the Barracuda, the emphasis is on birdie production. He's going to make his fair share of 3 putts. He's going to make a debacle of a few holes, but that really shouldn't hold him back at this event. He just has to go out, stick a few irons to 3-4 feet, make his fair share of birdies, and he's going to be able to get away with that putting deficiency. For our diamond in the rough, we have Tom Hoge, priced at $7,200. While Hoge has not been great of late by any means, he's missed quite a few cuts coming in. This is the kind of setup that benefits his skill set immensely. Even though he's missed plenty of cuts, like I said, he's still managed to consistently gain off the tee and approach over his last 32 rounds, gaining over 1/4 of a stroke per round in both categories. And on top of being a solid ball striker, a bit not great obviously, this has translated to a very good birdie or better percentage. Ranks number 20 in the field, and at $7,200, that's very good value. I certainly think he's going to be low owned. A lot of people aren't going to go to a guy who's missed a ton of cuts of late, but this is the type of event that I think he could do very well at. And finally, for our flyer play, we have Will Gordon. He comes in at $6,800, and just like Tom Hoge, he's not coming in with great form of late, but every single person priced down this low in this alternate field event is pretty much coming in with dog shit form. He's somebody who's a bomb and gouge type player, somebody who gets hot with his putter as well. Some days he looks like Jordan Spieth with his putter. Sometimes he looks like me out there, to be quite honest with you. Can't make a damn thing. His obviously flaw is that volatility. Some days he really has his aim game, sometimes he doesn't. But at a modified scoring event like this, where you're really looking for that birdie upside, it really doesn't matter if you have that dog shit day. It's a very good setup for him, just like it is for Tom Hoge. He's been very good with the driver. He averages 310 yards per drive. He's obviously able to extend that out as well. His long drive over that last 32 rounds was 385 yards. So that's on par with people like Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, those bomb and gouge guys. He's not going to be a staple of my lineups. He's not going to be a staple of really anybody's lineups this week. I expect him to be low owned as well. It's definitely something I'll be taking a shot on a few times this week. I recommend that you guys do as well. That's all for the quick preview for this week's alternate event. Thanks for watching. Just let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Obviously, I'm not able to cover every single player in the field. That would take way too long, and it's an alternate field event. And most of you guys are worried about the WGC anyways. So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Twitter, leave a comment here, whatever you guys want to do. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed it. Always helps out with building the channel, even on these quick, videos just for a few people. But see you guys next time.